I learned survival in Seoul, the way some people learn languages, through immersion and necessity. 3 years of moving through shadows. 3 years of perfected invisibility in a city that devours those who shine too bright. I work nights at a riverside bar near Gangnam, the kind that serves expensive whiskey to men who wear their power like cologne. My job is simple: pour drinks, wipe counters, smile when required, and disappear when the clock strikes midnight. The building sits on territory everyone pretends not to understand. I've seen Kang Min-jae dozens of times. Tailored suits the color of old wine, gold chains that catch light deliberately, a black serpent tattoo that curves along his neck before vanishing beneath his collar. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Men twice his size go quiet when he enters a room. I've cleaned his private lounge overlooking the Han River for 8 months, wiped down surfaces he's touched, arranged glasses he's drunk from, polished mirrors that have reflected his face. In all that time, he's never looked at me directly. Not once. That's how I prefer it. By day, I'm nobody. I send money to my mother in Busan, keep my head down, never drink, never flirt, never cause problems. The formula has kept me safe in a city built on unspoken hierarchies and invisible borders until last Thursday. The rain started just after midnight, turning neon signs into broken mirrors on wet asphalt. My shift had ended, and I took the shortcut through the alley I'd used 100 times before. Faster. Familiar. Fatal mistake. If you're already hooked by this opening, you're going to want what happens next. Go. This is just the beginning of a story about power, survival, and the dangerous moment when invisibility becomes impossible. Over the next chapters, you'll watch as one night in an alley changes everything, and as a question asked in the right place reshapes an entire city. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss a single chapter. This story moves fast, and trust me, you'll want to know what Kang Min-jae does when someone breaks the rules on his territory. Like this video if you're already invested in seeing how this plays out, and share it with anyone who loves dark romance, morally complex characters, and stories where survival requires strategy, not just luck. Drop a comment telling me, would you take the shortcut through the alley or play it safe? Your answer might reveal more about you than you think. Now let's get into what happened that Thursday night and why Seoul never forgot it. Thursday, 11:47 p.m., Riverside Bar, Gangnam. The bar smells like expensive cologne mixed with something sharper. Desperation dressed in designer labels. I move between tables with practiced efficiency, collecting empty glasses that still hold the ghosts of conversations I'm not meant to hear. A businessman in a charcoal suit snaps his fingers at me without looking up from his phone. I place the whiskey in front of him, Macallan 18, neat, and step back before he can acknowledge my existence. That's the dance here. Present the drink, vanish before gratitude or contempt can form. Jin-soo, the bar manager, watches from behind the counter with eyes that miss nothing. He's worked here longer than I have, long enough to understand the unwritten rules that govern this stretch of riverside real estate. Table 6 needs another round, he says quietly as I pass. And be quick. They're getting loud. I glance toward the corner booth where 4 men are laughing too hard at something that isn't funny. Their ties are loosened, their voices carrying. One of them keeps touching the waitress's arm when she brings drinks, fingers lingering a second too long. I deliver the bottles, 3 soju, 1 beer, and retreat before the conversation can include me. The trick is to anticipate needs before they're voiced, to be a solution that materializes and evaporates without disruption. By the time midnight arrives, my feet ache and my smile feels painted on. Jinsu counts out my pay in cash. 350,000 won. Crisp bills folded into an envelope he slides across the bar like a secret. You heading straight home? He asks, concern creasing the corners of his eyes. Always do. Be careful. Rain's starting. I nod, tucking the envelope into my bag alongside the other envelope from this afternoon's shift. 2 jobs, 2 pay packets, one careful existence pieced together from hours most people sleep through. The cold hits me the moment I step outside. October in Seoul means autumn is surrendering to winter, and the wind carries the promise of rain that will turn brutal before morning. I pull my jacket tighter and start walking. 3 years ago, I learned to map the city by safety rather than convenience. Which streets stay lit past midnight? Which corners have security cameras? Which routes put me near crowded subway stations even when I'm blocks from home? Tonight, I'm not going home. Not yet. 12:15 a.m. Han River Lounge, private entrance. The lounge sits on the 32nd floor of a building that exists in guidebooks, but not in tourist Instagram feeds. You need a key card to access the elevator. You need an invitation to know it exists. I have a key card because I clean here 3 afternoons a week and occasional nights when they need extra staff for private events. The pay is better than the bar, 400,000 won for 4 hours of invisible labor. And the work is simpler. No drunk men, no wandering hands, just empty rooms that need to look untouched before the next meeting. The elevator opens directly into the service hallway. Marble floors, recessed lighting, the kind of silence that costs money to maintain. I clock in using the panel by the supply closet, then gather my cart. Microfiber cloths, glass cleaner, furniture polish that smells like cedar and costs more per bottle than my weekly groceries. The main lounge stretches before me, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River, leather furniture arranged in intimate clusters, a bar stocked with bottles I recognize from magazine spreads. Everything here is designed to convey power without ostentation, money that doesn't need to announce itself. I start with the windows, wiping away fingerprints and the faint haze of breath that accumulates when people stand too close, looking at the city below. The river glitters like scattered diamonds, and beyond it, Seoul spreads in every direction, millions of lives, millions of strategies for survival. Mine is simple. Be useful, be invisible, be gone before anyone remembers you were there. The private meeting rooms branch off from the main lounge. 3 of them tonight need attention. I work methodically. Empty ashtrays, wipe surfaces, vacuum carpets that show every footprint. In the second room, I find a forgotten phone charger. In the third, a business card printed in English and Korean, the name meaning nothing to me. I leave both items on the reception desk for the night manager. The last room is the largest, the one reserved for meetings that require discretion. Soundproofed walls, a table that seats 12, and a view of the river that makes promises about what power can buy. I'm polishing the table when I hear footsteps in the main lounge, my hands still. I check my watch. 12:47 a.m. No meetings scheduled this late. The night manager would have warned me. I should leave. That's the smart move. Grab my cart, retreat to the service hallway, disappear before whoever it is decides I'm worth noticing. But the footsteps stop near the entrance, and I hear voices. Low, controlled, the kind of conversation that doesn't want witnesses. I keep polishing, head down, movement small. If I'm quiet enough, they won't know I'm here. If I'm lucky, they'll leave before they reach this hallway. The voices fade. A door closes somewhere. Silence returns. I exhale slowly and finish the table, then move through the rest of my checklist with renewed urgency. 40 minutes later, I clock out and take the service elevator down to the lobby. The rain has graduated from threat to reality. I can see it through the glass doors, sheets of water turning the street into a river of reflected neon. I pull my hood up and step outside. 1:35 a.m. The rules. Rule number 1. Never accept rides from customers, no matter how innocent the offer seems. Rule number 2. Never linger after shifts end. The longer you stay visible, the more likely someone decides you're worth remembering. Rule number 3. Never walk the same route home every night. Patterns make you predictable. Predictability makes you vulnerable. Rule number 4. Keep your head down. Eye contact invites conversation. Conversation invites connection. Connection invites danger. These aren't paranoid inventions. They're lessons learned from 3 years of watching other women make different choices. The bartender who accepted a ride and quit 2 weeks later without explanation. The hostess who flirted with the wrong customer and stopped showing up for shifts. The cleaner who asked too many questions about the men in expensive suits and got replaced overnight. Seoul isn't cruel. It's indifferent. The city doesn't care if you survive or disappear. It simply moves on, filling your space with someone else who understands the rules better. I understand them perfectly. That's why I'm still here, still working, still sending 200,000 won to my mother every month, money she needs for medicine and rent, and the small comforts that make aging bearable when your daughter can't visit as often as she should. The rain soaks through my jacket within minutes. I should have brought an umbrella, but the forecast said light showers, and I trusted the weather app more than my instincts. Another small miscalculation in a life built on careful arithmetic. The subway station is 8 blocks away. I could wait for a bus, but at this hour, they run every 40 minutes, and I'm already cold, already tired, already counting the hours until my next shift starts. I start walking. 1:42 a.m. The alley. The neighborhood changes as I move away from the river. Glass and steel give way to older buildings. Storefronts with metal shutters pulled down for the night. Restaurants that won't open until lunch tomorrow. This area belongs to Kang Min-jae's territory, not in any official sense, but in the way everyone knows without being told. His name is spoken carefully here, never in full sentences, never with context that could be recorded or remembered. Just Min-jae said, or Min-jae's people, or sometimes just a tilt of the head toward the riverside, and everyone understands. I've never spoken to him directly. I don't know if he's aware I exist beyond the abstract concept of cleaning staff, but I've seen him enough times to recognize the shape of his power. The way he moves through rooms like he owns the air itself. The way conversations stop mid-sentence when he appears. The way even the most aggressive men, the ones who shout at bartenders and grab at waitresses, go quiet and polite in his presence. He doesn't enforce respect through violence. He enforces it through certainty. You obey because the alternative doesn't exist in any version of reality you want to inhabit. That kind of power should terrify me. Maybe it does. But it's also kept this neighborhood safer than most. The riverside bars pay protection money, but in exchange, they don't deal with break-ins or harassment. The lounge stays pristine because everyone knows whose territory it occupies. I benefit from that safety without earning it. Another invisible transaction in a city built on them. The rain intensifies as I reach the intersection where I usually turn left toward the subway. Straight ahead, the route is well lit but longer, 15 extra minutes in weather that's already soaked through my shoes. To my right, there's an alley I've used dozens of times. A shortcut that cuts 5 minutes off the walk and deposits me 2 blocks from the station. I've taken it at least 100 times, maybe more, always without incident. The alley is narrow, but not threatening. Security lights from the buildings on either side cast enough illumination to see clearly. It's been part of my safe route for months now, familiar enough that I don't think about it anymore. I look left toward the long route, then right toward the alley. The rain makes the decision for me. I turn right and start walking, hood pulled low, steps quick and purposeful. Just another worker heading home after a long shift, invisible in a city that never notices. The alley closes around me, and the sound of traffic fades behind the buildings. Ahead, I can see the glow of streetlights marking the exit, the promise of the subway station beyond. I'm halfway through when I hear the footsteps behind me. Not running, not hurrying, just there, matching my pace in the rain. I walk faster. The footsteps match my rhythm, close enough now that I can hear them, distinct from the rain. 2 sets, maybe 3. The neon sign from the pharmacy at the alley's entrance casts everything in sickly green, turning puddles into mirrors that reflect nothing useful. I don't turn around. Rule number 4. Eye contact invites conversation. Hey. The voice comes from behind, casual, almost friendly. I keep walking. 10 more meters to the street. 7. 5. A hand catches my shoulder. I spin, instinct overriding training, and that's when I see them. 3 men, early 20s, maybe younger. Expensive sneakers already soaked through, jackets that cost more than my monthly rent. They smell like soju and entitlement. "You're fast," the one holding my shoulder says. He's smiling like we're sharing a joke. "Where you going?" "Home." My voice comes out steady. Small victory. "Please move." "Please move," another one mimics, his tone mocking. So polite. I try to step around them. The first one doesn't let go. "We just want to talk," he says. But his grip tightens, fingers digging into my collarbone. "Pretty girls shouldn't walk alone this late. Don't you know that?" I know many things. I know screaming won't help, because the nearest open business is 3 blocks away. I know running won't work because they're already too close. I know that arguing will only extend whatever this is. "I need to go," I say quietly. "I'm expected somewhere." "Liar." The word comes with a shove that sends me stumbling backward into the alley wall. My shoulder blade hits brick, pain, sharp and immediate. The rain has made the ground treacherous and my feet slide before I catch my balance. That's when I understand. They don't want my money. They haven't asked for my phone. This isn't robbery. This is something worse. "You work at the Riverside Bar," the third one says, stepping closer. He's been quiet until now, watching. "I've seen you there. You never smile at customers. Think you're too good?" I didn't. The first punch comes from my left, catching my cheekbone before I can raise my hands. My head snaps sideways, and I taste copper immediately. Blood from somewhere. My lip. My mouth. Both. The second punch drives the air from my lungs. I double over, gasping, and someone kicks my legs out from under me. The ground rushes up, cold and wet, and my palms scrape against asphalt as I try to catch myself. "This is what happens," one of them says above me, voice flat, instructional. "When you forget your place." A kick to my ribs, another to my thigh. Not frenzied, calculated. They're teaching a lesson, and lessons require clarity. I curl into myself, arms over my head, knees drawn up, waiting for it to end. That's all I can do. Wait and survive, and refuse to give them the satisfaction of hearing me beg. The rain keeps falling. Their footsteps circle me like a ritual. Someone spits near my face. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stops. "Remember this," the first one says. "Pretty girls need to learn respect." Their laughter echoes off the alley walls as they walk away, unhurried, still joking among themselves. I stay on the ground, listening to their voices fade, counting seconds until I'm certain they're gone. 30 seconds, 60, 90. Finally, silence except for rain. I push myself up slowly, testing each movement for new damage. My ribs protest. My face throbs with a pulse that matches my heartbeat. When I touch my lip, my fingers come away red, diluted by rainwater into something that looks pink and harmless. I should call the police. That's what someone braver would do, someone who believes the system works. Someone who doesn't know that 3 rich boys with good lawyers and influential families will walk away clean while I become the girl who caused problems. I've seen that story before. I know how it ends. So I don't scream. I don't chase them. I don't even cry. I just get up. My bag is still over my shoulder, contents intact. The pay envelopes are still there, crisp and dry in the inner pocket. That's something. That's everything. I take one step, then another, testing my legs. They hold. Everything hurts, but nothing feels broken. I'm functional. That's enough. The alley exit is ahead, streetlights promising normalcy beyond this temporary darkness. I walk toward them, one hand pressed against the wall for balance, each step measured and deliberate. By the time I reach the subway station, I've stopped shaking. By the time I board the train, I've practiced the story I'll tell no one. By the time I reach my apartment, I've learned a new rule. Rule number 5. Some pain you survive alone. The bruise blooms overnight like something poisonous. I wake at noon to find my left cheekbone has turned purple and yellow, the colors vivid against my skin. My lip is swollen, split at the corner where teeth caught flesh. When I touch my ribs, pain radiates outward in waves that make breathing careful work. I should rest, take the day off, let my body heal. Instead, I stand in front of my bathroom mirror with a makeup kit I bought 2 years ago for exactly this purpose. Not because I expected this, but because I've learned to prepare for variables I can't control. Foundation first. 2 shades lighter than my skin tone to counteract the purple. Then concealer, applied in layers, each one building coverage until the bruise becomes suggestion rather than statement. Powder to set it. Blush to restore dimension. The split lip is harder. I dab concealer carefully, wincing at the contact, then coat it with nude lipstick that makes the swelling less obvious. The result isn't perfect. Up close, someone would notice. But from a normal distance, in moderate lighting, I look tired rather than damaged. That's acceptable. Everyone looks tired in Seoul. I dress in my cleaning uniform, black pants, white collared shirt, comfortable shoes. The fabric pulls against my ribs when I raise my arms, so I move slowly, testing my range of motion. Everything works, everything hurts. Both things can be true. The subway ride to the Han River Lounge takes 40 minutes. I spend it staring at my reflection in the window, watching the city blur past. No one looks at me. No one ever does. Invisibility restored. My shift starts at 2. I arrive at 1:50, clock in, and begin my routine. The main lounge first, windows, furniture, floors. My movements are slower today, accommodating the pain in my ribs, but I'm thorough. Thoroughness is the price of continued employment. I'm wiping down the bar when I hear the elevator doors open. Too early for clients. The first meeting isn't scheduled until 4. I glance toward the entrance and freeze. Kang Min-jae steps into the lounge. raincoat still dark with moisture from outside. He's alone, unusual for him. His hair is perfect despite the weather, and he moves with the unhurried confidence of someone who owns every space he enters. I turn back to the bar, head down, hands busy. If I'm quiet enough, he'll pass through to his private office. If I'm invisible enough, this moment will end without acknowledgement. His footsteps stop. Not near me. Not yet. But stopped. Present. Aware. I keep polishing the same section of bar top, my reflection distorted in the dark wood. My heart pounds against my injured ribs, creating a rhythm of pain that matches my pulse. Lift your face. The command is quiet, barely louder than the rain against the windows. Not a request, not a suggestion, an absolute statement that allows no alternative. My hands still on the cloth. For 3 seconds, I consider pretending I didn't hear. For 3 seconds, I imagine continuing my work, maintaining the fiction of my invisibility. Then I obey. I turn and lift my chin, meeting his eyes for the first time in 8 months of working here. They're dark brown, almost black, and they track across my face with the precision of someone cataloging damage. His expression doesn't change. No shock, no concern, no reaction I can read. But his jaw tightens, just slightly, a muscle jumping beneath skin. He crosses the space between us in 4 measured steps, close enough that I can smell leather and rain and something metallic beneath. Gun oil, maybe, or the cologne worn by men who make violence look like business. Who did this to you? The question is calm, conversational, terrifying in its certainty. I fell. The lie comes automatically practiced. Yesterday, slipped in the rain, his hand rises. I don't flinch, refuse to flinch, and his fingers catch my chin with infuriating gentleness. He tilts my face toward the light, studying the makeup I spent 30 minutes applying. His thumb brushes the split in my lip. The touch is soft enough that it barely hurts, but I feel it everywhere. Warning and assessment compressed into a single gesture. No, he says, his voice empty of doubt. You didn't. I try to step back. His grip tightens. Not painful, but immovable. A cage disguised as concern. Again. His eyes hold mine, patient and unyielding. Who did this to you? Something in his voice strips away the careful lies I've built. Not anger, that would be simpler. This is focus. The kind of attention that sees through walls and makeup and 3 years of practiced invisibility. Some men, I whisper, hating how small my voice sounds. In an alley. Last night. Near the river district. The silence that follows feels like held breath before thunder. Names, he says. I don't know them. Where? Behind the bar district, the alley between... I know it. He releases my face slowly, deliberately, like setting down something valuable that might break. For a moment, he just looks at me. Not the way men at the bar look at women, but the way a general assesses battlefield damage. You shouldn't have walked home alone, he says. I usually don't. His eyes narrow slightly. Usually. My roommate had an emergency. I stop, because finishing that sentence admits how wrong I was. It was 3 blocks. 3 blocks in my territory, he says quietly, and something in those words sounds like ownership and failure combined. He steps back, reaching into his coat pocket. For a disorienting second, I think he's reaching for a weapon. Instead, he pulls out his phone, types something quickly, then puts it away. Go home, he says. You're done for the day. I can keep working. I need... That wasn't a suggestion. The words carry no heat, no anger, just certainty. The same tone he'd used to state that gravity exists or water is wet. Facts that don't require emphasis. I should argue. The shift is 4 hours, and I need the money. But something in his expression tells me that arguing will accomplish nothing except making this harder. Yes, sir, I say quietly. His mouth moves, not quite a smile, but close. 8 months you've worked here. First time you've called me anything. Before I can respond, he turns and walks toward his private office, phone already at his ear, speaking in Korean, too low for me to hear. I gather my cleaning supplies with shaking hands and clock out 17 minutes into my shift. Only when I reach the elevator do I realize he never asked my name. He didn't need to. He already knew exactly who I was. I spend the afternoon waiting for the text that says I'm fired. It doesn't come. Instead, I sit in my apartment with ice wrapped in a dish towel pressed against my ribs, watching the clock and calculating how long I can survive on savings if I lose both jobs. 6 weeks, maybe 8 if I stop sending money to Busan. The math is depressing and familiar. By 8 p.m., my phone stays silent. No message from the lounge manager, no call from Jinsu, just absence where consequence should be. I heat instant ramyun because cooking requires energy I don't have, and eat it standing at my kitchen counter, staring at the Seoul skyline through my narrow window. The city glitters like broken glass, beautiful and indifferent. Somewhere out there, 3 men are laughing about last night. Somewhere out there, Kang Min-jae is doing whatever men like him do after hours. Neither thought intersects with my reality. That's what I tell myself as I wash my bowl and prepare for bed at 9:30, too exhausted to stay awake despite sleeping until noon. What I don't know, what I can't know yet, is that the city is already moving. 11:47 p.m., Riverside District. The card room above the electronics shop closes early. Not because of police, not because of a raid. Just a phone call that makes the owner go pale, followed by him quietly ushering out customers mid-hand, apologizing without explaining. "Come back tomorrow," he says, hands shaking as he counts bills. "Family emergency." The players leave confused. The owner locks the door and sits in darkness, phone clutched in his lap, waiting for permission to breathe normally again. 3 blocks away, a black car pulls up outside a gym that doesn't advertise. 2 men get out, walk inside, and emerge 7 minutes later with someone between them who isn't struggling because struggling would be pointless. No one on the street looks directly at this. No one films it. The transaction happens in the space between attention and acknowledgement, witnessed by dozens who will swear they saw nothing. 1:23 a.m., Gangnam backstreets. A phone rings in a 3rd-floor apartment, then another, then a third. None of them are answered, but all of them ring long enough to send a message. Someone is looking for you, and they know exactly where you are. By 2 a.m., group chats across the Riverside district erupt with fragments of information that don't quite form a picture. "Did you hear? 3 guys, Min-jae's asking questions. Who touched what? Be smart, stay home." The conversations stop abruptly when someone points out that phones aren't private and silence is survival. 4:15 a.m. The alley. Yellow police tape appears across the alley entrance, though no police cars are present. A single security camera that was broken 2 months ago is suddenly functional, its lens aimed at the exact spot where I fell. The pharmacy owner arrives at 6 to open his shop and finds 2 men in dark suits standing near his door. They don't threaten him. They don't speak. They simply show him a photograph on a phone screen. 3 young men, faces circled, and wait. "I've seen them," he says quickly, sweat forming despite the morning cold. "Last week, maybe twice." They come through around midnight, laughing loud, bothering people. The men nod and leave. The pharmacy owner locks his door and calls his wife, tells her he loves her for no reason she can understand. 7:30 a.m. My apartment. I wake to 17 unread messages. They're not from the lounge. They're from Jinsu, from other bartenders, from two servers I barely know. Did you hear? The riverside is locked down. 3 guys missing Min-jae's people everywhere. What happened? I stare at my phone, pulse accelerating, pain in my ribs suddenly sharp and immediate. I scroll through the messages, reading them twice, trying to assemble meaning from panic and rumor. The last message is from Jin Soo, sent 10 minutes ago. Whatever you know, keep it quiet. This is bigger than bar gossip. Be safe. I don't respond. I don't know how to respond. Instead, I open my news app, searching for reports of arrests or incidents. Nothing. The silence is more unsettling than headlines would be. I'm making coffee when my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer. Then I remember rule number 6, the one I'm learning in real time. When power calls, you pick up. Yes? The lounge, 4 p.m. The voice is male, professional, unfamiliar. Mr. Kang wants to see you. Is this about yesterday? Because I can explain. 4 p.m., he repeats, then ends the call. I stand in my kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. Through my window, Seoul continues its morning routine. Traffic building, people rushing to subway stations, the city performing normalcy with practiced efficiency. But underneath, something has shifted. I felt it happen last night in an alley when 3 men decided I was worth teaching a lesson. I felt it again yesterday when Kang Min-jae looked at my face and asked a question that changed everything. Now I'm feeling the aftermath. Phones ringing unanswered. Whispers spreading like fever. The careful, quiet machinery of power activating in ways I was never supposed to witness. I have 8 hours until 4 p.m. 8 hours to decide if showing up is the smartest thing I've ever done or the last mistake I'll ever make. I drink my coffee and start the longest wait of my life. I arrive at 3:52 p.m., 8 minutes early, because being late feels dangerous in ways I can't articulate. The lounge is empty. No cleaning staff, no managers. Just afternoon light filtering through floor-to-ceiling window, turning the Han River into liquid gold below. Kang Min-jae stands at the glass, hands in his pockets, watching the city. He doesn't turn when the elevator doors open, but his shoulders shift slightly. Acknowledgement without welcome. You came, he says. You asked. I stay near the elevator, maintaining distance. Is this where you fire me? No. Then what is this? He turns finally, and I'm struck again by how controlled he is. No wasted movement, no excess emotion, just precision wrapped in expensive fabric. This is where I tell you they won't touch you again, he says simply. The words land like stones in still water. I've heard the rumors, read the panicked messages, felt the city shift beneath me. But hearing it stated so plainly makes it real in a way speculation couldn't. What did you do? My voice is steadier than I feel. What was necessary? That's not an answer. His mouth curves, not quite a smile. No, it's not. I take 3 steps into the lounge, close enough to see his face clearly, but far enough to maintain the pretense of safety. Why? The question comes out smaller than I intend. Why do you care? He studies me for a long moment, the kind of assessment that feels like being read in a language I don't speak. You live alone, he says, each fact delivered with quiet certainty. You work 2 jobs. You send money to your mother in Busan every month, 200,000 won, regular as clockwork. You don't drink. You don't flirt with customers. You don't cause problems. I feel exposed in a way the alley didn't manage. You had me investigated? I pay attention. He moves closer, unhurried. You've worked here 8 months. In that time, you've never been late, never missed a shift, never asked for favors. You move through this building like you're apologizing for existing. That's called being professional. That's called surviving. He stops 3 feet away, close enough that I have to look up slightly to meet his eyes. Someone hurt you on my streets. That's unacceptable. Your streets? I test the phrase, tasting ownership and arrogance. What does that mean exactly? It means order matters. Territory matters. When that order breaks, consequences follow. I didn't ask for consequences. You didn't have to. His voice stays level, factual. You existed in a place I'm responsible for. That's enough. Something hot and complicated rises in my chest. Anger mixed with relief, mixed with fear of what this attention costs. And now what? You've protected me. Lesson learned. Can I go back to being invisible? No. The word is final, absolute. Why not? I demand, frustration sharpening my tone. I didn't ask to be noticed. I don't want to be part of whatever this is. Because the city already knows. He gestures toward the windows, toward Seoul sprawling below us. By now, every low-level thug along the river understands what happens when someone touches what belongs to me. I don't belong to you. His expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or acknowledgement. No, you don't. Then say that, out loud. You don't belong to me, he repeats, voice steady. But you work in my territory. You live under my protection. Whether you want it or not, that's reality now. Protection. I say the word like it might bite. Or ownership? There's a difference. Is there? I take a step closer, matching his stillness with stubbornness. If I leave Seoul tomorrow, move to Busan, disappear, would you stop me? He considers this carefully. No. But you'd track where I went. Yes. The honesty is somehow worse than a lie would be. At least lies pretend you have choices. I won't be kept, I say quietly, firmly. I won't be someone's possession or responsibility or trophy. If that's what this is, I'd rather take my chances alone. For the first time since I've known him, Kang Min-jae looks genuinely surprised. Not shocked. His control is too complete for that. But recalibrating, as if I've presented a variable he hadn't accounted for. You'd rather risk another alley than accept protection. I'd rather keep my freedom than trade it for safety. I hold his gaze, refusing to look away first. Even calculated freedom. Even dangerous freedom. The silence stretches between us, taut as wire. Then he nods, just once. Fair. Fair? You want independence. I understand that. I respect it. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a business card, black, embossed with a single phone number. But understand this. The city has already learned its lesson. Men will move when they see you coming. Not because you're mine, because they remember what happened when someone forgot. He holds out the card. I don't take it. I don't need— You don't need anything, he interrupts, voice still calm. But you might want options. That number reaches me. 24 hours. Any situation. Use it or don't. Your choice. I stare at the card, seeing the trap it represents. Connection. Debt. Obligation disguised as autonomy. But I also see what he's offering. Acknowledgement that I'm a person who makes decisions, not a problem to be solved. Slowly, I take the card. This doesn't mean— I know what it means, he says. You're not mine. But you're not alone either. Remember that difference. He walks past me toward his office, footsteps echoing on marble. At the door, he pauses. Your shift tomorrow, 4 p.m., standard rate. I still have a job? Did you think you wouldn't? Before I can answer, he disappears into his office, door closing with quiet finality. I stand alone in the empty lounge, card burning in my palm, watching the sun set over Seoul. The city glitters below, beautiful and ordered and dangerous. And somewhere in it, 3 men are learning what it costs to break the rules. The changes start small. Friday morning, I return to my shift at the Riverside bar. Jin-soo takes one look at my face, bruise fading but still visible, and his expression shutters closed. Not with anger, with something closer to fear. You okay to work? He asks, voice carefully neutral. I'm fine. He nods, doesn't push, and for the entire shift, he stations himself between me and the customers. Protective, deliberate. When a businessman tries to snap his fingers at me, Jin-soo intercepts before I can move. I'll handle table 6 tonight, he says. It's the first time in 3 years he's reassigned my section without explanation. By Saturday, the whispers have evolved into certainty. I overhear 2 servers talking in the supply closet, their voices low and urgent. Disappeared completely, all 3 of them. Not arrested? No reports, no police, just gone. I heard Min-jae himself. They stop when they notice me in the doorway. Their faces shift. Not hostile, but wary. Respectful in a way I've never experienced here. Sorry, one of them says quickly. We were just... It's fine, I tell them, moving past to grab clean towels. But it's not fine. Their eyes follow me out of the room, and I feel the weight of their revised understanding. I'm no longer just another worker. I'm the girl something happened to. The girl something happened for. Sunday. River District. The neighborhood feels different in ways I can't quite name. I walk to the subway after my shift, following the same route I've taken hundreds of times. The street is quieter than usual. Fewer people lingering outside clubs, fewer groups of young men congregating on corners. When I pass the pharmacy where I bought bandages 2 months ago, the owner looks up from his register and nods. Actually, nods. At me. I nod back, confused, and keep walking. Near the alley, the one I'll never use again, someone has installed better lighting. Bright LED fixtures that turn the narrow passage into something visible from both ends. Safe. Watched. I don't know who paid for them. I can guess. At the subway entrance, a man in an expensive suit holds the door open despite being several steps ahead of me. His eyes catch on my face for half a second, then skate away quickly, as if looking too long might be dangerous. Thank you, I say automatically. He just nods and walks faster toward the platform. Monday, the lounge. Min-jae is already there when I arrive for my shift. He's sitting in the main lounge with 2 men I don't recognize, their conversation low and focused. I move quietly toward the supply closet, preparing to begin my routine. Stay, he says, not looking up from the documents spread on the table. I freeze. Sir? The meeting won't take long. Start with the private rooms. It's phrased as instruction, but I understand what it really is. Awareness. He knows exactly where I am in the building. He's tracking my presence the way some people track time. The 2 men glance at me, then away, their expressions carefully blank. I gather my supplies and retreat to the back hallway, pulse racing. 20 minutes later, the men leave. I'm polishing mirrors in the second private room when I sense him in the doorway. You're staying late again, he observes, making up hours from last week. I don't turn around, just keep working. When you sent me home early. You don't need to make them up. I do if I want to pay rent. A pause. Then, how's your mother? The question stops my hand mid-wipe. I turn slowly, cloth still raised. What? Your mother, in Busan. How is she? She's fine. Why? He's leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me with that focused attention that makes me feel simultaneously visible and exposed. You sent her money yesterday, same amount, same schedule. You're tracking my bank account now? I'm paying attention, he corrects mildly. There's a difference. Is there? I echo his words from Friday, testing their weight. His mouth moves, almost a smile. You're angry. I'm tired. I set down the cloth, facing him fully. Everyone's treating me differently. They look at me like I'm either fragile or dangerous. Jinsu won't let me work my own sections. The pharmacy owner nods at me. Men hold doors. What did you tell them? Nothing. Then what did you do? I corrected a problem. The city observed. The city adjusted. He straightens, stepping into the room. You're upset that people are being careful with you. I'm upset that I'm not invisible anymore. That was the whole point. Stay unnoticed. Stay safe. You were never safe, he says quietly. You were just lucky. There's a difference. The words hit harder than they should. Because he's right. 3 years of careful navigation, and it only took one wrong turn, one unlucky moment, for everything to collapse. So what now? I ask, tired of dancing around the obvious. I walk around Seoul wearing your protection like a shield? Everyone knows to leave me alone because I'm connected to you? Would that be so terrible? Yes. The answer comes instantly, because it's not real, it's borrowed. The second you decide I'm not worth the attention anymore, what happens? Do I go back to being vulnerable? Or do I become a target because someone wants to prove they're not afraid of you? He considers this seriously, no trace of dismissiveness. Fair questions? Then answer them. I don't know, he says, and the honesty is startling. This isn't... He stops, recalibrating. I don't usually explain myself. But you're not usual. What does that mean? It means you're the first person in years who's told me no, who's challenged what I offer. Most people just take and say thank you. His eyes hold mine, steady and assessing. You take and ask what it costs. That's rare. That's worth protecting. Something dangerous blooms in my chest. Not attraction exactly, but recognition. Being seen not as an object to possess, but as a person who makes choices. The city will still learn, I say quietly, remembering his warning. The city already has, Tuesday night. Walking home. It's 11:47 p.m. when I leave the bar. The rain has returned, lighter this time, almost gentle. I could take the long route. Well lit, familiar, safe by any measure. Instead, I walk the direct path. Through neighborhoods I've avoided. Past alleys I've crossed streets to circumvent. And nothing happens. Men see me coming and shift their positions, creating space. Groups that would have called out or laughed instead go quiet. Conversations pausing until I pass. A woman waiting at a bus stop smiles at me, the kind of acknowledgement that suggests solidarity rather than recognition. When I reach my apartment building, I stand on the sidewalk for a long moment, looking back toward the river district. The city glitters in the rain, neon reflecting off wet pavement in colors that blur and blend. Somewhere in that sprawl, 3 men who hurt me have ceased to exist in any way that matters. Not dead, at least I don't think so, but erased from the spaces they once occupied, removed from the equation like variables that stopped making sense. I should feel guilty. I should feel responsible for whatever happened to them. Instead, I feel something simpler, and more complicated. I feel safe. For the first time in 3 years of living in Seoul, I walk through the city at night without cataloging exits or calculating distances to help. The cost of that safety sits in my pocket, a black business card with a single phone number. I don't know yet if the trade is worth it. But tonight, standing in the rain without fear, I'm willing to find out. The envelope appears on Wednesday. Not at my apartment. That would be too obvious, too threatening. Instead, I find it tucked beneath a glass at the Riverside bar, placed there sometime between my bathroom break and returning to the floor. Plain white. No name. Just 3 words in neat Korean script. Know your worth. I show it to Jin-soo during the shift change. His face goes pale. Where did you get this? Someone left it at my station. Why? What does it mean? He looks around the bar, checking who's watching, then pulls me into the back office and closes the door. That's not a compliment, that's a warning. From who? Does it matter? His voice is tight with controlled panic. Someone's watching you closely enough to know your schedule, someone who's not Min-jae's people. The words settle over me like cold water. For 2 weeks, I've been protected by proximity to power. It never occurred to me that the same proximity could make me a target for those who challenge that power. What should I do? Jin-soo runs a hand through his hair. Tell him, tonight. Don't wait. 10:47 p.m. The lounge. Min-jae is in a meeting when I arrive. 3 men in dark suits arranged around the conference table like chess pieces. I shouldn't interrupt. Every instinct says wait until they're finished. But the envelope burns in my pocket, and Jin-soo's fear has transferred to me like contagion. I knock once on the glass door. The conversation stops. 4 sets of eyes turn toward me. Min-jae's expression doesn't change, but something in his posture sharpens. Awareness clicking into focus. Excuse me, he says to the men, then rises and steps into the hallway, closing the door behind him. What happened? Not a question, a command for information. I hand him the envelope. He reads it once, jaw tightening imperceptibly. Then he folds it carefully and slides it into his jacket pocket. When? During my shift. Someone left it at my station. You saw no one? The bar was full. It could have been anyone. He pulls out his phone, types something quickly, then looks at me with an intensity that feels like being cataloged for war. You're done at the bar. Tonight was your last shift. What? No, I need that job. You need to stay alive more. His voice stays level, but steel runs underneath. Someone's testing boundaries, seeing if you're accessible, if you're vulnerable. Then I'll be more careful. I'll watch my sections. You'll stop being a target I have to worry about defending in 2 locations. He steps closer, voice dropping. This is what I warned you about. Visibility has consequences. The words from our first real conversation echo back. The city will still learn. I thought he meant learning to leave me alone. I didn't realize he meant learning to use me. Who sent it? I ask quietly. Does it matter? Yes. I hold his gaze. If I'm going to be someone's pressure point, I deserve to know whose. For a moment, I think he'll refuse to. Then something shifts in his expression, respect, maybe, or acknowledgement that I've earned honesty. Park's faction. They control territory north of the river. We've had disagreements lately about boundary enforcement. He gestures toward the conference room where 3 men wait. That meeting was about preventing escalation. Your existence complicates that. My existence? The phrase sits bitter on my tongue. 2 weeks ago, I didn't exist. Now I'm a complication. No, his correction is immediate, firm. You're a variable they think they can manipulate. There's a difference. Is there? I'm getting tired of that question and its circular answers. Because from where I stand, I went from invisible to valuable, to vulnerable in less than a month. That's not protection. That's exposure. Yes, the admission stops me cold. No deflection, no reassurance, just acknowledgement. Then what do I do? The question comes out smaller than I intend. Hide? Run? Wait until someone decides I'm worth taking to make a point? You trust me to keep you safe. Trust. I test the word like it might shatter. That's a lot to ask from someone who pays attention without permission. I know. He looks toward the windows, the river beyond reflecting city lights in broken patterns. I don't usually explain myself, don't usually justify decisions, but you're asking me to, so I will. He turns back, and for the first time since I've known him, I see something other than controlled certainty. I see calculation giving way to something raw. You were right, he says quietly. That day, when you said you were just lucky, not safe, you were right. This city is built on violence wearing expensive suits, on power that looks like order but feels like fear. Most people navigate it by being forgettable or useful or both. I was forgettable. You were disciplined, he corrects. You survived by being smarter than the people around you, by reading danger and avoiding it. That's not luck. That's strategy. When those men hurt you, they didn't break a person, they broke a system. My system. So you corrected it. Yes. And now you're visible in ways that make you vulnerable to people who want to test if I mean what I demonstrate. His eyes hold mine, steady and serious. I can protect you, I will protect you, but I can't make you invisible again. That choice is gone. The honesty is devastating in its simplicity. What are my options? I ask. Stay. Accept protection. Let me move you somewhere safer until this resolves. Or leave Seoul, start somewhere else. I'll help you relocate. Set you up with enough money to... No. The word comes out harder than I mean it to, surprising us both. No, he repeats. I don't run. I didn't run from poverty. I didn't run from my mother's medical debt. I didn't run from 3 men in an alley. I take a breath, steadying myself. I'm not running from this either, but I need you to understand something. What? If I stay, if I accept this protection, it's because I'm choosing to. Not because I'm afraid. Not because I'm dependent. Because I'm deciding that navigating danger with information is smarter than facing it alone. I step closer, closing distance deliberately. But the moment you try to make my choices for me, the moment you decide what I can handle without asking, we're done. Clear? For 3 heartbeats, he just looks at me. Then his mouth curves. A real smile this time. Small and genuine. Clear. Good. I pull the black business card from my pocket, the one I've carried for 2 weeks without using. Then tell me what happens next. All of it. No protection through ignorance. He takes the card from my hand, studies it like seeing it for the first time, then hands it back. Keep that. You'll need it. For what? For when you realize that choosing danger doesn't make it less dangerous. His expression sobers. And for when you need to call me because something's gone wrong despite every precaution. Optimistic. Realistic. He glances toward the conference room where 3 men wait. I need to finish that meeting. Can you wait? 30 minutes. Why? Because after, I'm going to tell you everything about Park's faction and why they're watching you. And then we're going to make a plan that keeps you alive and autonomous. He pauses. Together. The word hangs between us. Partnership offered where control could have been enforced. I nod. 30 minutes. He returns to the meeting. I sit in the empty lounge, card in my hand, watching Seoul glitter beyond the windows. For the first time since this started, I'm not wondering if the protection is worth the cost. I'm wondering if I'm strong enough to survive the price of being seen. The 30 minutes stretch into 45. I watch the Han River through floor-to-ceiling windows, tracking boats that move like slow stars across dark water. Behind me, voices rise and fall in the conference room, controlled but tight with tension I can feel even through soundproofed glass. When the door finally opens, the three men emerge without looking at me. They nod at Min-jae, movements sharp with barely contained anger, then disappear into the elevator. Min-jae stands in the doorway, tie loosened, exhaustion visible in the set of his shoulders. For the first time since I've known him, he looks almost human. That went well, I say dryly. They wanted me to move you, put you in a secure location until this settles. He crosses to the bar, pours 2 glasses of water. I told them no. Why? He hands me a glass. Because you'd refuse, and watching them try to force you would be tedious. Despite everything, I almost smile. So what's the plan? Park's testing boundaries, seeing if you're accessible, if I'll react disproportionately. He drinks, gathering words. The envelope was a probe. If I hide you, I confirm you're valuable. If I ignore it, I confirm you're expendable. Neither option is great. No. He sets down his glass. So we do neither. Meaning? Meaning you continue working here, visible but protected. You move through the city normally, but not alone. Never alone. His eyes hold mine. A driver will take you everywhere. Security waits outside locations. You won't see them, but they're there. The cage he's describing sounds reasonable until I examine its bars. So I'm watched constantly, followed, never private. You're protected constantly. There's a difference. Is there? I step closer, tired of the careful language that obscures what we're really discussing. Because it sounds like you're deciding what I need without asking what I want. His jaw tightens. What you want might get you killed. What you want might make me a prisoner. I don't raise my voice. Don't need to. I didn't survive 3 years in this city by letting men make my choices, even well-meaning ones. This isn't about control. Then what is it about? The question cuts through his justification. Because from where I stand, you're doing exactly what those men in the alley did, deciding what I can handle, where I can go, who I am. I take a breath. The only difference is you're polite about it. The comparison lands like a slap. His expression shudders. Something dark and hurt flashing behind his eyes before control reasserts itself. That's not fair. No, I agree quietly, but it's true. Silence stretches between us, not empty, but full of everything we're not saying. Finally, he moves to the windows, hands in pockets, watching the city like it might provide answers. I don't know how to protect you without controlling you, he admits. Every instinct says lock you somewhere safe until this ends. And I'm telling you that's not protection, that's possession. He turns. Then what do you want? Information, options, trust. I join him at the glass. Tell me the threats. Show me the boundaries. Let me make informed choices about my own risk. And if you choose wrong, then I learn, same as I've always done. I look at him directly. You said I survived through strategy. Trust that strategy now. For a long moment, he just studies me, cataloging, assessing, maybe seeing me clearly for the first time. 3 conditions, he says finally. Name them. You carry a phone that connects directly to my security. You notify someone, me or the team, before going anywhere new. And if something feels wrong, you don't investigate. You call. I consider each requirement, testing them for hidden controls. And in exchange, You move freely, make your own choices, live your life. He steps closer. But you're not alone in this. That's not negotiable. The distance between us feels charged, deliberate. Not invasion, proximity chosen by both of us. Deal, I say quietly. His hand rises, catches my chin gently, the gesture from 2 weeks ago, transformed by context. Then, not asking permission, now offering connection. This is dangerous, he says, for both of us. I know. They'll use you against me if they can. I know. And you're still choosing this. Not a question. Confirmation. Yes. Something shifts in his expression. Relief and fear combined. Then we do this together. Partners, not protection and property. Partners, I repeat, tasting the word. His thumb brushes my jaw, and for one suspended moment, I think he'll close the distance between us. Instead, he steps back, restoring space deliberately. The city's watching, he says. Let them see you're not afraid. Through the windows, Seoul glitters. Millions of lives, millions of calculations about power and survival. Somewhere in that sprawl, Park's faction is waiting to see how this plays out. And here, 32 floors above the river, two people stand together in ways that don't have names yet. Not safe, not simple, but chosen. The call comes at 4:47 a.m. on a Thursday. Not Min-jae, his head of security, a man named Choi, whose voice carries the efficient calm of someone reporting weather rather than war. It's done, he says simply. Park's faction withdrew their interest. You're clear. I'm still half asleep, phone pressed to my ear, trying to assemble meaning from words that sound too simple for what they represent. What does that mean? It means the threat is resolved. You can resume normal operations. A pause. Mr. Kang will brief you properly later. I'm just confirming you're safe to move freely today. He ends the call before I can ask the questions crowding my throat. I sit in darkness, watching Seoul's skyline slowly brighten through my narrow window. Somewhere between midnight and dawn, the architecture of power shifted again, quietly, invisibly, in ways I wasn't present for, but will live with regardless. 3 weeks later. The changes accumulate like snow. Individually small, collectively transformative. My bank account shows a deposit I didn't expect. Severance pay from the Riverside bar, calculated generously despite Jinsu's cryptic text saying only Min-jae handled it. The lounge increases my hours without me asking, the raise appearing on my next paycheck with no ceremony or explanation. I'm not rich, but I'm stable in ways I haven't been since arriving in Seoul 3 years ago. I send 300,000 won to my mother now. Extra for the treatments her doctor recommended but insurance wouldn't cover. When she calls, confused by the amount, I tell her I got promoted. It's not entirely a lie. The city treats me differently. Not with fear, that would be obvious, performative. Instead, with a careful awareness that feels like respect's cautious cousin. The pharmacy owner still nods when I pass. Groups of young men create space on sidewalks without being asked. Even the subway at midnight feels less predatory, though I can't articulate exactly what's changed beyond a shift in collective attention. I stop cataloging exits. Stop calculating distances to help. The fear that governed 3 years of survival quietly evaporates, leaving behind something I'm still learning to name. Min-jae's world adjusts around me in ways both subtle and absolute. I see it in how his associates address me now, with names instead of silence, acknowledgement instead of dismissal. The conference room meetings sometimes pause when I enter with cleaning supplies, Min-jae glancing up to offer a brief nod that transforms me from furniture into person. Last Tuesday, he asked my opinion on restaurant recommendations. Not as a test, genuinely curious about what I thought. The moment felt ordinary and revolutionary simultaneously. We don't define what we are. Partnership feels too formal, friendship too simple. Anything romantic too complicated by power dynamics, we're still negotiating. So we exist in undefined space. Two people who saw each other clearly in moments when clarity mattered most. Friday evening. The lounge. I'm finishing my shift when Min-jae appears in the hallway, jacket slung over one shoulder, exhaustion visible despite his controlled posture. "Walk with me," he says. Not a command, an invitation. We take the elevator down together, emerging onto streets still warm with October's last defiance against autumn. He doesn't explain where we're going, just walks, and I match his pace, comfortable in silence that doesn't require filling. We end up at the riverside, the same stretch of water I've looked at through windows for months. Up close, it's different. Wider, more alive, reflecting the city in patterns that shift with every passing boat. "You asked once," he says quietly, "why I cared. About what happened to you. I remember. I didn't have a good answer then." He looks at the water, the city beyond. "I think I do now. What changed? You did. This did." He gestures between us toward the city. "Most people I protect stay protected because they're afraid not to be. You stayed because you chose to. That difference matters." "Does it?" "Yes." He turns to face me fully. "Because it means Seoul didn't just learn to leave you alone. It learned you're someone who makes decisions that matter, who negotiates with power instead of just surviving it." The words settle over me like recognition, not flattery, acknowledgement. "Someone asked me once," I say slowly, testing the memory, "who did this to you?" I remember. "You didn't ask for names because you wanted revenge. You asked because you needed to know if your system worked, if the order you maintain actually protects people or just protects power." His expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. Surprise that I understood, or relief that I finally said it. "And?" he asks. And the city answered. I look at Seoul sprawling before us. Millions of lights, millions of lives, millions of quiet negotiations about safety and survival. It remembered that someone who matters asked a question, and it shaped itself around the answer. We stand together on the riverside, undefined and aligned, watching the city that learned our names. Someone asked, "Who did this to you?" And Seoul never forgot the answer.